babes. I'm Madeline.
And I'm Deja.
And welcome back to the Elegance Exchange.
Today we're going to be talking about the elegance of learning to live.
Alright guys, so Deja and I went on a little special adventure today.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we are not in our usual get-up, We're a little underdressed.
Right. So I recently went to, with us living in Florida, we have a sea turtle, we have a Gulf World Marine Institute, and they go and they help sea turtles that get called and they need rescuing. So we watched 4 baby sea turtles get released today.
Yeah. So they were shocked by the cold, and so they did a emergency rescue. I think they said 5 days ago.
Yeah.
And so they treated them and got them feeling better and released them back into the wild. So we went and we got up at 6 a.m. to go drive an hour away to watch it. And I don't know, it was just a really nice experience. And then after we walked on the beach,
and then we checked out this cute little bakery.
Yeah, it was really cute. Maybe we'll post a little vlog on our channel. I don't know. But needless to say, we were just sitting there and we were kind of walking, we both gave each other space.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just walking along the beach with our music, just thinking about life. And we both kind of came to the conclusion that sometimes people forget that life is worth living, and that there are so many things that you can do to make your life feel so joyful.
No, because tell me about it. Because if anything, this previous week, it hasn't been the best for me. I'll be completely honest.
It's been a rough week for her.
Yeah, it's almost like that domino effect. When you think it cannot get any worse, it's boom, slammed. It made it 100 times worse. So I really got in a deep hole, and I was unmotivated. Yeah. I'm slacking, and I'm reflecting on it. I'm that's not me, and that's not what I wanted to be heading into the new year. And so just the thought of going out and doing stuff, you can't be laying in bed and waking up and being oh, here's another day.
Yeah.
You have to wake up and you're okay, so what am I gonna do today? How am I gonna make today worth remembering?
Because realistically, no matter where you live, there's always something to do.
Mm-hmm.
We are very fortunate that we live in an area where there might not be very much in our town, but in a town over or 2 towns over, there's a bunch of different things to do.
Yeah.
And so there's always, there's just always opportunities. So this episode's more relaxed. We don't have any points that we're trying to hit. We're just kind of being real and talking to y'all.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I just think once you learn how to live, you kind of get addicted to the feeling, and then whenever you don't do something, it's kind of just great, I wasted a whole day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because in all honesty, I figured out, I found my activity that made me feel there was more to this world than just my life, if that makes sense. I know that sounds a little odd, but so I would say about 3 years ago, I went hiking for the first time, alone, which, granted, you probably shouldn't do that. That's kind of stupid. I know. Sue me. To be fair, my dad did run the park, so it was okay, well, you can find me if I needed help. But anyway, I went hiking for the first time. And this is going to sound silly, and y'all are going to be Madeline, why are you trying to be poetic? Whatever.
Oh boy, let's hear it.
But literally, if you just walk, and if you're a nature lover, maybe try this, okay? If you're not, maybe
still go out and try. You don't know
find
unless
something
you
else.
Try.
But literally just walking on a trail and just being completely surrounded in trees and hearing the sway of the trees, just hearing the birds chirp, just, watching all the little dragonflies. Yeah, and butterflies. Sorry, I forgot their names. We're a little tired. Just seeing life just go on around you and realizing that there is truly more to your life than just school and work. Because I think we all get so caught up in that. We get caught up in the negative. We're I did really bad at school this week. I just don't feel smart, and you forget that there's other things to life.
And that was me this whole entire week. We were driving up to the sea turtle release, and I was I just thought about it, and I was life should be worth so much more than just sitting at a desk, stressing over the test that you have to take the next day. Granted, it's great that we have the opportunity to do that, but it shouldn't be our main priority. Because I feel like once we focus on one thing specific, like schoolwork, for example, we lose sight of everything outside of school. And so, like, going out and, like, doing a sea turtle release, it just felt kind of, like, relaxing and free. And, you know, if you're, like, Madeline and you like to go on hikes and, like, be
immersed in nature.
Yeah, and, like, kind of be, like, with nature and, like, your thoughts. I'm kind of the person where it's, like, I have to do some things. I don't like being caught up in my mind. Like, I don't like being stuck with my thoughts so much that I overthink.
Right.
And then I, like, have to go and do something else. Like, I have to do something hands-on, or I have to do something that almost, like, distract me. Cause I know if I'm by myself and, like, I'm enjoying something, like, I'm gonna constantly have stuff on my mind, and then it just makes me feel like, you know.
Interesting.
I know, because that's really funny, actually, because you were mentioning the walk, and you were like, yeah, it's just, like, so interesting. And even, like, on the beach walk, I was still, like, even though I was alone, like, and we still had our music playing and the environment was nice, like, because I wasn't doing anything, or, like, there wasn't as much stuff going on, yeah, like, I was still...
You were sitting with your thoughts in, like, a negative way?
Not, like, a negative way, but it was, like, a bunch of just, like...
Anxiety?
Kinda. You know? It's kind of just, like... It's kind of like when you're sleeping in your bed at night, and, like, you have nothing going on, so you're just
focusing on everything.
Yeah, like, you're just focused on thoughts, and you really go through all your thoughts, and you're like, That's kind of what it was like.
See, and I think that's... The human mind is honestly so fascinating.
It is.
Because for me, like, if I go on a hike and the reason why I love hiking so much is because I'm truly just alone with my thoughts. Like, it's literally just me and nature. And I know that sounds so tree hugger and whatever. I'm a tree hugger, whatever. But I think just being, like, for me, being comfortable with my own thoughts and being comfortable with my own self is something that I needed for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was so into people pleasing and just, like, my whole life revolved around everybody, okay? And if you live your life like that, honestly, you know, you need to understand that if you live your life for certain people every single day, as morbid as this sounds, one day they're gonna die. They're not gonna be there.
Sorry about it.
Or one day they're gonna not be in your life anymore, okay? And so you cannot live your life solely because of other people. Like, in high school, I would constantly put myself down, or I'd be like, no, like, I can't do this because everybody's gonna put me down and they're gonna think that I'm so stupid. Well, guess what? I don't see almost any of those people in high school anymore.
I cannot tell you who I see. And it's like, if I see someone outside of high school, like, I just look at them and be like, they were, you know, that's that one kid from my second period class. But, like, I don't constantly think of, like,
oh my gosh, they're doing this, this, and this. Like,
who's that one person from ELA? Like, I'm not going to constantly think about that.
Exactly. So don't live your life for other people. That's part of living your own life, you know?
Exactly. Like, you go and do things, like, part of life is going out and, like, finding things that work out for you. Mm-hmm. So when you're living your life based on, like, how you think someone else would prefer you live your life, you don't live the life you want to live. You don't live the life you're meant to live.
Right.
If anything.
Exactly. So honestly, just finding that activity that helps you live your life, because I don't know how to describe it to other people. Like, it's just euphoric. Like, you're just sitting there, you're completely alone. And like, you know, Deja said, some people might not like that. You might not like that. But honestly, just experiment and find what you do like. Literally, it could be a rage room. Deja's been talking about going to one of those for a hot minute now.
And it's not even, like, directed, like, a rage room, it's not even directed towards someone, or it's not even directed towards, like, the situation I'm in. It's just, like, the bundle of stress that I'm in. Like, you just want to let it all out.
Right, exactly. And so finding that activity where you can just let everything out and truly feel happy and content with life, that is so important, because honestly, it does remind you that there's more to life than your life. And I think that's so important because, you know, we're on, like, I know constantly I'm like, me, which I think is very normal to do.
Yeah. It's like, your life.
That's a very human thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you just need to understand that there's more than you. And that sounds like really bratty almost, but it's the truth.
And, like, another thing too, once you learn how to live, like, you kind of just want to go for it. And I say that because, like, let me rephrase that, like, once you have to, like, go out and take the opportunity. Like, once you're given the opportunity to do something, that's when you do it. And, like, that was my big thing in senior year. Like, I think that's why senior year of high school was my favorite year. And it was, like, because I really stepped outside of my comfort zone and I went out and did things. So, like, anytime there was, like, a pep rally game, I was always volunteering.
Oh, gosh.
And it's, like,
she was. I have videos.
Everyone else is like, Deisha, like, that's embarrassing. Like, you're not embarrassed? And it's like, well, no. Like, go for it. You have nothing to lose.
No, and I love that.
And it's, like, the same thing with the Sea Turtle release. Like, I was looking at that and I was like, oh, that's cool. But, you know, I'm not driving an hour away. Like, I'm not waking up early to get there. It's 7:15 and I'm gonna drive an hour.
And I said, oh no.
Right? But then, like, you go and do it yourself and you're like, I'm so glad I went. Like,
right.
It's such a surreal experience. And then once you go and compare that and you're like, oh, I have to go and study when I get home.
Yeah.
And then you just look back at it and you're like, I did all of that in one day. You know?
Well, and I mean, truthfully, once you become comfortable with being alone and living your life, you are truly living life. Because, like I said, you know, you're not always going to have these people in your life. And you need to be comfortable with yourself. And we preach that all the time. But truly, I think, honestly, I am the happiest when I'm alone. And I'm I'm fairly extroverted, okay? Now, I'm not crazy extroverted like Deja, but I'm pretty extroverted. But truthfully, I can understand and I can, you know, appreciate being alone and being by myself. And I think that's when I'm at my happiest.
That's funny. Oh my gosh. Speak. That's like another comparison between you and me. Like, I really like being around other people. And, like, whenever I'm in a, like, down situation, like this week, like, I know I have people I can rely on and jump to whenever I need it. But then, you know, there's those moments where it's like, sometimes you just need to be by yourself. Like, and that's not a bad thing. You don't, like, it's not like, you know, you're driving me insane, like, I need space. It's kind of just like a, you know, let me just enjoy time with myself and then
exactly
get everything situated.
Because honestly, right before the new year, I started noticing that, like, I was never alone, okay? Which is crazy because the year prior, I was almost always alone. And once I started noticing that, I started noticing why I was so much more stressed. Why I constantly felt on edge. I never felt like I had time for myself, you know, especially, so I don't know, maybe you might relate to this, but whenever I was in high school, I constantly felt like I never had time for myself. And so what I would do is I would stay up later because I would get home at like 10 o'clock because I was doing, you know, extra
curriculars in school.
I was doing a bunch of stuff and I would get home at like 10 p.m. and then I would have to get up at 5:45 the next day. And so in order to feel like I had control in my life and feel like I had time for myself, I stayed up until like 12. And that's not good because I was getting, what, like 5 hours of sleep?
Yeah, and your sleep gets in the way.
And so, you know, now that I am alone, well, okay, I am alone, but I'm not. Like we said, this is not scripted by any means, so my brain is also gone, running on 4 hours of sleep, funnily enough. But, you know, you need to evaluate sometimes, like, if you know your cues and you know when you get stressed and you stop living your life, you need to evaluate those. Because for me, it was not having that alone time for myself. That's when I really got down to my worst because I didn't have time or I didn't feel like I could control my life.
And it's so easy to, like you said, like, it's so easy to control, like, what your life is whenever you feel like everything's against you. Like, this week, like I said, it could not get any worse. Like, every time I was like, you know, okay, like, this happened, and it'll be like, boom, podcast episode completely wasted because I didn't upload.
Oh,
boom,
yeah.
You did bad on a calc test, and it's, like, back to back to back, and you're like, there's only so much more I can handle. But, like, once you just go and, like, shut everything off, go and do something you normally wouldn't do in your everyday life, you feel better and you're like, okay, you know, there's more things for me out there instead of, you know, all this negative stuff that's happening.
Right, literally, it's so important that you give yourself that time and you give yourself that just motivation. Even, you know, sticking to a routine at night, that can help. You know, just small little things, like, you need to find when you're at your happiest. And I do not mean, please don't take this in the way that I know some people are going to take this. Do not take this as like, oh, I'm happiest when I'm scrolling on TikTok. Please don't. Please don't. Now, granted, okay, if you want to spend, like, you know, 30 minutes or whatever on TikTok, that's fine.
Go for
but
it.
you should not be spending 8 hours just scrolling, and it is most likely getting banned, but whatever. But just literally do something unconnected from your phone, or disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, my sleep, yeah.
That's another thing. Your phone is such a big distraction.
Yeah.
Like, once you go out and do stuff and you don't bring your phone, like, you completely forget you have a phone.
Right.
Like, at that sea turtle release, I did not once look at my phone and be like, oh my gosh, someone's texting me, or I wonder if this person reached out. Like, you just don't. Like, you're so focused on everything else besides your phone and besides everything else that bothers you.
Right, and live in the present too. I know Daisha and I are both so bad at this because we want to film everything. We want to document everything because, you know, my thing is I always feel like I want to be able to go back and look at my memories. But you also have to make memories in that moment. Like, if you were on your phone the whole entire time, so many people at that sea turtle release, the whole entire time they were, like, filming and on their phone. Which is fine, you know, like, I get it, you want to keep that memory.
It's a cool thing to witness.
But, like, maybe, you know, snap a few photos and then get off your phone so you can really enjoy that memory. Because, you know, otherwise you're just not living. And you don't realize it until you actually implement that into your life. So, yeah. I mean, I know this was a little bit more of a sporadic episode, so I don't know if you guys are going to like this or not. So you'll have to let us know down in the comments.
It was just something fun that we decided. Like, we
were feeling inspired.
No, really. And, like, it's fun once you go and do stuff you wouldn't normally do. And then you're like, you know, I like this. I'm going to do this more often whenever I feel this way. Or, you know, maybe, like, I'll come back with this person and hopefully do it again, too.
Yeah. So, yeah, like Deja said. But speaking of the missed podcast episode, our YouTube users will not be able to access it because we can't upload it because the file's too big or something. We're having trouble with it. But it is uploaded on our Spotify, so if you want to go listen to it, it's a really good episode. It's about a mini glow up, which I think we all want, you know. It's a very good episode. It's also quite long, which is why it's, you know, we couldn't upload it.
28 minutes, 20 gigabytes. Yeah, that's not getting anywhere.
It's a lot. So if you want to go listen to that, definitely make sure you go to our Spotify, which is just the Elegance Exchange. Like all of our other social medias. Definitely go follow us on all of that because we post constantly. I think I post on Instagram every day except for Friday and Saturday.
And TikTok is 3 days a week as well.
Yes, so we are posting constantly, so definitely go check us out if you like our content because we have plenty of it. Most of the time we do funny stuff on our socials, so yeah, definitely go tune in. But we thank you so much for being here today and helping yourself to, you know, a little bit more motivation.
Yeah.
All right, bye babes. We
Bye.
love you.